Hey, seventh grade. So, to give a little context for what we're working on today, we're going to be looking at how the presidential plan versus the congressional plan for Reconstruction were very different. So, first thing we're going to do is look at the presidential plan. So, during the Civil War itself, Abraham Lincoln was the president. Abraham Lincoln knew before the war actually ended that the war was looking like the North was going to win. So, during that time, he came up with his plan for Reconstruction, which he called the 10% plan. Now, the 10% plan rested on three things. Number one, he needed to make sure that there wasn't going to be any more of this uprising in the Civil War. So he wanted the voters in the South to agree to be loyal to the Union, the United States. Secondly, he needed the voters in the South to be loyal to the Constitution, so the government. And then third, if both those things happen, if 10% of all voters in the South said, yes, we are loyal to the government, yes, we are loyal to the Constitution, then the states themselves would have to pass or ratify the 13th Amendment, which got rid of slavery. So, if those three things happen, then the states were given amnesty, which is this idea of forgiveness. So, these Confederate soldiers that had fought against their government of the United States would be forgiven for that action if those three things are met. Now, this plan was considered to be very forgiving and not hard enough on the South by those in Congress. So, during this time, there was some talk and rumblings in Congress about what their plan might look like. This really changes once Abraham Lincoln is killed. He's assassinated. And his vice president, Andrew Johnson, becomes the president. Now, Johnson was from the South himself, so he agreed with what Lincoln was saying about how we need to be friendly with the South in order to get them back in. So, when he's president, he brings in a new plan that looks a lot like Lincoln's, but is even friendlier to the South. This wasn't really liked by the members of Congress, and so eventually, in 1866, they passed this thing called the Civil Rights Act. Now, the Civil Rights Act of 1866 gave citizenship to everybody in the United States, except for Native Americans, that was born there. So, what that really was anybody that was a slave that was born in the United States was now a citizen. Johnson wasn't a fan of this plan. He knew it would anger the South. And so as a result, he vetoes it. But the Congress had enough power or enough votes to override that veto, making it law. So we can see the presidential plan of forgiveness and amnesty versus the congressional plan of harshness, punishment, and splitting up the South from their states into what they refer to as military districts to make sure that they followed the rules and that these freed slaves would be safe and could actually have their freedom. So, as you go through the sources, you'll see testimonies, written pieces from both sides of this argument. The goal here is to pick out, okay, how are they different from each other, and how would this come in conflict with each other? So, good luck.